Outlander is a series filled with beloved characters, each with rich backstories that could easily be a show on its own. Among the fandom's favorites is undoubtedly young Ian Murray, a unique character beloved by fans through and through. In today's video, we'll take a journey through Ian's story across Diana Gabaldon's books. And let's keep in mind there's still one more book to come. Ian Murray was born at El Broch, a small estate in the Scottish Highlands that served as home to the fraser-murray family. He grew up surrounded by the love of his parents, Jenny and Ian Murray, and a large family that deeply valued loyalty and honor. Even as a young boy, Ian stood out from his siblings. Though kind and gentle, there was a spark of curiosity in his eyes, a thirst for adventure, and a hint of rebellion that led him to seek something beyond the everyday life of El Broch. Over the years, Ian developed a special bond with his uncle Jamie Fraser. Jamie, a man of great courage and endless adventures, represented everything Ian aspired to be. To Ian, Jamie was more than just an uncle. He was a role model, someone who'd faced danger and returned with fascinating stories. Jamie saw that same spark in Ian and often encouraged him, teaching him survival skills, hunting, and combat tactics, knowing that one day Ian might crave more than a peaceful life at El Broch to feel truly fulfilled. Life in Scotland was not easy, especially for a family that had once fought in the Jacobite resistance. The Maes had supported the Stuart dynasty's return, fostering a loyalty that didn't always put them on good terms with the British government. These tensions affected Ian, even if he was too young to fully understand the political conflicts. But despite these struggles, Ian grew up in a home filled with love and guiding principles, where he learned the values of loyalty, justice, and bravery. In his youth, Ian found himself caught up in a pivotal event when he traveled to Edinburgh, where Jamie ran a print shop as part of a smuggling network. Jamie operated under the alias Alexander Malcolm to protect his identity, using the print shop as a cover for his clandestine activities. In an attempt to protect Jamie from an officer who appeared to be onto him, Ian ended up setting fire to the print shop, accidentally killing the man in the process. A tragic moment that marked a turning point in young Ian's life. After this incident, they returned to El Broch, and once forgiven by his parents, Ian set off on a journey with Jamie and Claire in search of hidden treasure. It was then that he was kidnapped by a pirate ship and sold as a slave to a woman known as Mrs. Abernathy, who was in reality Gillian Duncan. Gillian drugged Ian, interrogating him in hopes of learning about his family, leaving him completely confused. By April 1767, Ian was in a desperate situation. Gillian had him tied and gagged in a cave, positioned in the center of a pentagram drawn with gemstone dust. Just as she was about to complete her ritual, Claire and Jamie arrived to rescue him. Once freed, Ian felt a deep sense of gratitude and admiration for his aunt and uncle, who had not only rescued him physically, but had given him a second chance to carve out his own path. From that moment on, Ian knew his actions didn't just impact him. They affected the people he loved as well. After the traumatic experience of his Caribbean capture, Ian Murray began a new chapter of his life in America. This journey brought him to a land of fresh opportunities, but also fresh challenges. It all began when Jamie and Claire decided to settle in North Carolina. Eager to explore and put the painful memories of his captivity behind him, Ian joined his family on this new adventure. The voyage to America was no easy feat after weeks at sea. The family arrived in a world vastly different from what Ian had known. Native tribes, vast forests, and abundant wildlife gave Ian a sense of freedom he had never experienced before. In this untamed landscape, he found a place where his restless spirit could finally roam, and he felt drawn to the wild beauty of America. It was here that Ian joined the Mohawk, entering into an agreement that involved adopting a new name and appearance. From then on, he was known as Wolf's brother. The community welcomed him as one of their own, and he fully embraced their way of life, respecting their traditions, living in harmony with nature, and adopting the tribe's values. It was among the Mohawk that he met Emily, a woman who stole his heart. Emily was strong, wise, and shared Ian's love for the simple, communal life of the Mohawk. Despite coming from such different worlds, Emily and Ian understood each other deeply and began a life together, hoping to build a family and future within the tribe. From the moment they married, Ian and Emily dreamed of a life filled with children and laughter, hoping their union would be blessed with a new generation. But fate had other plans. Emily lost their first child, and joy quickly turned to grief. At first, they both endured the pain with resilience, believing life would offer them another chance. But then came a second loss, and then a third. Each time Emily became pregnant, hope bloomed anew, only to be crushed when sorrow returned. While the Mohawk community was supportive, the repeated losses led some to view Emily and Ian's misfortune as a bad omen. According to their beliefs, recurring misfortune in a family could indicate a spiritual imbalance or curse. Some elders suggested that perhaps the spirits did not approve of Ian and Emily's union, given that he came from a different world with different customs and beliefs. As a result, the Mohawk concluded that Ian and Emily's spirits were incompatible, exiling Ian and marrying Emily to another man from the tribe. Heartbroken, Ian walked and traveled for days until he reached Fraser's Ridge, where his Uncle Jamie, Aunt Claire, and the rest of the Fraser family welcomed him with open arms. It had been so long since he'd last seen them that at first, it was difficult for him to adjust back to his family environment. Yet Ian eventually came to accept that his Mohawk identity belonged to the past. He realized he now belonged to two worlds. Although he was no longer physically with the Mohawk, their spirit, wisdom, and values remained a part of him forever. In his heart, he would always be both a Fraser and a young wolf, carrying that duality as a guiding force, reminding him that life is a balance of belonging and letting go, of family and sacrifice. After the painful farewell to Emily, Ian resolved to close his heart to love. The wound was deep, and though he found peace among his family, part of him remained bound to the memory of Emily and the life they'd tried to build. But on one of his travels, Ian met Rachel Hunter, a Quaker woman whose strength and calmness took him by surprise. Rachel was unlike anyone Ian had ever known. She possessed an inner peace and kindness that seemed otherworldly. And though her Quaker beliefs embraced peace and nonviolence, her determination and bravery were qualities Ian greatly admired. From the start, Rachel saw beyond Ian's rugged exterior and past. She accepted both his wild warrior side and the tenderness and sorrow he carried, and her unconditional acceptance began to heal Ian's wounds in a way he'd never thought possible. Despite their cultural and religious differences, which often proved challenging, Rachel, coming from a pacifist family, struggled to understand Ian's need to protect and fight, especially as conflict and war loomed over Fraser's Ridge. Rachel never sought to change Ian. She loved him as he was and respected his path, even if it meant embracing the darker parts of his life. As Ian and Rachel explored their love, the Revolutionary War approached Fraser's Ridge, pushing the colonies to a critical point. Although Ian longed for peace, he didn't hesitate to join the rebel cause to protect his family when conflict threatened their safety. His skills as a tracker and warrior, honed with the Mohawk, made him invaluable in reconnaissance and sabotage missions, earning him respect among the rebels and fear among the British, who saw him as a shadow in the woods. During the war, Ian's path crossed with William Ransom, Jamie Fraser's illegitimate son, and unknowingly his own cousin. Though William served in the British ranks, Ian felt a bond of blood that compelled him to protect him in dangerous situations, despite being on opposing sides on several occasions. On the battlefield, Ian watched over William's safety without raising suspicion, even saving him from an ambush, earning silent respect from William, who never fully understood that loyalty. The war, however, brought ruthless enemies. Ian faced deadly threats, and after being gravely injured in an ambush, managed to crawl back to Fraser's Ridge, where Rachel and Claire nursed him back to health, physically and emotionally. Over time, and after the intensity of the war, Ian began to long for peace and stability. Though the conflict had cost him dearly, it had also allowed him to defend those he loved. Now, with Rachel by his side, he felt he could finally build the life he had always wanted, focused on family, love, and connection with nature. Ian and Rachel set out to build their own home at Fraser's Ridge, close to his family, but far enough away to enjoy their privacy together. Ian and Rachel raised their children in an environment of love and respect for the natural world. Ian passed on both the Fraser traditions and Mohawk teachings, giving his children a perspective that embraced both cultures. Their children grew up listening to stories about the Mohawk and learning to respect the earth as their father did. In time, Ian found peace in his role as father, husband, and protector. Though his life had been marked by pain and loss, he had also known true love and the joy of building something lasting. He knew his legacy would live on in his children and at Fraser's Ridge, a place that would forever hold a piece of his heart. Thus, the young adventurer in search of identity found his place in the world, living between two cultures, loving deeply, and leaving a legacy of courage and respect for life. And though his story is far from over, let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like to see covered on the channel. And remember, if you enjoy this type of video, the best way to support me is by leaving a like, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell. See you in the next video.